Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinnie Eastwood Show, broadcasting from New Zealand, the fabulous, the fluoridated, the allegedly irradiated, but of course we don't know because we stopped testing the seawater. You know, we figured what's the worst that could happen? A whole bunch of contaminated products and contaminated seafood would flood our shelves and give everybody cacophonous cancer rates. Nah, that's fine, bro. You know, we'll just drink more homogenized, pasteurized New Zealand brand milk in a black plastic bottle or something like that. You know, it'll all work itself out in the end. Nature works very, very well, especially at wiping out parasites that kind of live on its back. My very special guests are the creators of Joy Camp. We've got here. Guys, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Vinny. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Glad to be back.
Oh, my God. I got such a terrible thing here. I only remember Benny. I can't remember your name, bro.
Didn't you say it? I thought you just said it.
You guys from Joy Camp.
Oh, yeah, it's Kevin.
Kevin and Benny. All right. That's better. That makes me feel a lot less uncomfortable.
You're Vinny, right?
Yeah.
Make sure.
Or is it Vincent?
No. It go by Vinny. Vinny Eastwood. You know, Vinny with a Y. It's the most important question. Eastwood doesn't go ahead. Make my news.
Like Clint Eastwood, or
yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, I'm like 15th cousins or some crap. So my mother tells me, but she never showed me the genealogy thing. So the most famous celebrity that I'm related to is Lucy Lawless, first cousin.
First cousin. Wow,
that's pretty good.
Xena warrior princess.
Yeah, it's where I get my crazy megaphone antics from.
Oh, of course, that makes
it's all coming together now.
Yeah. In fact, it would be really good to, jump through the air onto the shoulders of my prime sinister. But
I say go for it, man. Just say yes.
Yeah, just be you.
Just say yes to getting arrested.
Exactly. Words of wisdom from Joy Camp.
In fact, I was interviewing a hemp producer the other day, and he was talking about how having these really good hemp smoothies can actually relieve the symptoms of PTSD. And I told him how I got mine was getting busted by the cops. And he's like, no, this can solve that. And I go, well, no problem, bro. I'll tell you what, you make me a smoothie and I'll go get myself arrested by the cops and I'll see if I handle it better, you know?
So did you get your smoothie or what?
Nah, he gimped out on me.
Damn it.
You know, when it comes to the crunch. Anyway. What have you guys been up to? Because I introduced my wife to your YouTube channel the other week. She was really, really sick. And I saw these research articles about the benefits of comedy. One of which stipulated that they had these two test groups of women. One in one room watching boring travel shows. And one other group of women in another room watching really, really funny stuff, right? And they're laugh out loud funny, right? And what they found was they monitored the blood, testing for antibodies, you know, the kind of stuff that fights viruses, white blood cells, that kind of thing. And they found that the women who were watching the comedy stuff had a 40% higher antibody count. And so, in an effort to help my wife get, well, I introduced her to Joy Camp, and she got well.
Wow. That's awesome, man. You probably should have just put on the Food Channel, because women love the Food Channel.
They do.
Well, that's actually the best thing I've heard all day, man.
Thank you. That's really nice.
That's great to hear.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm glad it helped her, too. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of what I do, you know.
Yeah.
You could have just sat there and told her jokes.
She doesn't like my jokes. Like, she dislikes me so... She really likes you guys now, but she dislikes me so much that she won't listen to this interview.
Well, then if you ever get into hot water with her, just throw one of our videos her way.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully it'll work, you know. Something sponsored by Sia.
Most definitely. Everything we do is sponsored by Sia.
Isn't everything almost everybody does now sponsored by Sia? I mean...
Or at least everybody is suspicious that someone else is working for Sia.
Yeah.
Everybody at some point is guilty of being a potential Sia employee.
It's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, except it's Sia.
Yeah. The 6 degrees of Sia.
Yeah, exactly. That's it, man. We figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, people want to join Sia now, but I want to see it later.
Precisely.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, the element of comedy within the truth movement, I've been talking to a lot of really serious researchers recently, guys, on my show, and frankly, it's so necessary to inject comedy into the truth movement for one primary reason, or at least what I think is the most important reason for it: sanity.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Ultimately, I mean, did you guys, like me, before you started to kind of laugh about this kind of thing, did you, I don't know, get depressed, angry, go through that phase where you lose most of your friends, your family stop talking to you, and you kind of lose your sense of humor for a little bit before you rediscover it?
All of the above.
Yeah, we definitely went through that. I think, everybody has that moment when you decide to, plummet down whatever rabbit hole. It's not a very happy experience. So we've all been there. Lucky for me and Kevin, we had each other throughout all of it. So we were always able to laugh. So we didn't lose our senses of humor through it, but we definitely went through the crazy phase, the maddening phase of not really knowing what to do with the information and not really knowing how to express it to people.
I'm actually interested to know exactly how this happened. Would you mind recounting this story? I mean,
of how we
for me, I watched a documentary, and a friend introduced me to Bill Hicks at the same time, and they sort of merged, and my brain got messed up by it, and
messed started up off.
Yeah, I mean, the short version of that, I think you're asking us what our background with all this.
Yeah, a long version would be preferable.
The long version. All right. Yeah, well, Kevin and I met in junior college about, 11 or 12 years ago?
Yeah,
11 years ago. And this was pre-YouTube days. So maybe if YouTube was around, it definitely wasn't something that everybody was aware of. And so there weren't viral videos. There wasn't instant access to information and alternate points of view available back then like they are now. And we hit it off just on a friendship basis, and
like a real way.
Yeah, like a real genuine friendship, and we were able to make each other laugh. And I think that's when you know you have a real friend, is when you have the same sense of humor. And then at the same time, we both were introduced to a video in college about the Pentagon, and it was a short video, like 7 minutes. There was no narration. It was only words on the screen and pictures of Pentagon post plane. But we realized watching it, or what the video was showing, was that there was no plane. There couldn't have been a plane. And that blew our minds. Like, that was all we needed to see. And from there, I mean, yeah, it was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
So Loose Change came out shortly after that. The movies like Zeitgeist. Then we started listening to David Icke lectures, and we were introduced to, Alex Jones and all kinds of stuff like that. And, secret society stuff, and just really just going down basically every rabbit hole that presented itself to us.
I may interject. I've figured out that it's kind of like an orb weaver or a trapdoor spider crossed with a rabbit hole. So when it opens the little spider trap door, it's a rabbit hole covered with all these little webs and strands that go in every direction simultaneously.
Yeah,
it's exactly like that. Yeah. Nothing was off limits to us.
And you never hit the bottom. Like, there's no bottom of the rabbit hole. You just keep going. And so, throughout all of that, though, we didn't ever lose our sanity, and we were able to still laugh in general about everything and maintain our senses of humor. And we were making videos also. And I have a background in acting, and Kevin's been making films with his friends even before we met. So we have this, we had a natural interest in just creativity in general, but we didn't know what to do with it. So throughout those years, the first few years, we tried being activists, going on the street corner and going to like 9/11 truth rallies. And, there's a place for that. And there's a place for those activists, and they're the warriors, and I'm all about it, but it didn't feel right for us. So we finally came to a point. Actually, we just made a video for fun.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, conspiracy theorist PSA in 1950s, making fun of a 1950s propaganda advertisement about conspiracy theorists. And as we made it, it was first of all therapeutic for us, because it was an outlet for us and a creative outlet. And as soon as we did it, we realized just how important it was. And integral to the truth movement to have that influx of humor. And we realized that it had been lacking, and so then we found our calling. It was like, oh my god, like this is what we were supposed to do. And it took about 8 years to get there, but man, it's we're so glad we found it.
Yeah, it did take a long time to get there, and it was organic, which was what was cool about it. We had a couple of other friends that were open-minded. They didn't really travel down the rabbit hole maybe as deep as we may have, but they were open-minded and they were cool, and we all shared the same sense of humor, and they're all talented in their own ways. So we made the one, and we were like, wow, this is something more than just a little funny video. We got to keep doing this. And so luckily, all of our friends around us in the group were on board. So it was luck in a lot of ways, I guess, that we had people that were willing to throw in their talents and help us out, and have been doing that for the past 2.5 years now.
Right. So that's the long version.
Comedy's like weed. It brings people together.
Well, we've definitely...
it's true, man.
Weed is like maybe our 7th member.
Yeah, it's the 6th Beatle. 7th Beatle.
Yeah.
It helps with a lot of the ideas, and that's why we have some pretty weird videos on our channel.
For me, it just really helps with my rage.
Yeah.
It's a good way to help chill you out when you're really stressed out. But it can also be overdone too. And there's times when I got to step back from it, and there's times when I can't work creatively under the influence, so to speak. So it's all about balance,
Well, I think one thing that happens to people like us, creative people with a sense of humor or whatever, the only reason why we've got these understandings is because A, we're intelligent, and B, we still have a lot of empathy. And that's actually incredibly dangerous to you, psychologically speaking, because the smarter you are, the more terrible stuff you can work out, and the worse it will make you feel because you actually have a lot of empathy.
Oh, it's true, man. I always think of when I hear people say exactly the point you just made, I always think of Woody Allen and Annie Hall. He has a line in there somewhere where he says, like, unless everybody else is okay, he'll never be okay. And that's kind of the feeling you get whenever you start learning about the way the world works. Is the reason why we're screaming so loud at everyone else to wake up is because we're trying to help them and help us and help everyone and change the way things are. And so it gets really frustrating when they don't listen back. And that's, to bring it back to comedy, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my travels down the rabbit hole is the art of communication. And frankly, I just don't think there's any better art than comedy to communicate with people. Maybe music, but yeah, man.
Well, it's about the enunciation of recognizable truth. And what's difficult about I don't know. I'm not sure what it's like to be an average person because I never have been. I've always been, sort of...
Ditto.
I stick out in the class, basically. I'm just, not only am I 6'4", but I'm also louder than everybody. My cackles are raucous, Just basically, I'm
You're 6'4"?
Yeah. I'm not somebody who's easy to imitate, more or less. Let's put it that way.
I never thought you were 6'4", seeing your profile picture.
That's because I'm always sitting down in them.
That's true. You got to stand up and take one.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's a number on my websites and things of that nature from far away, and you see all these people standing next to me, and they're like up to my shoulder or something. And it turns out that being tall is a leadership characteristic, actually, which is why you'll notice if you look at debates between major politicians, you'll notice the shorter guy standing on something.
That's true, yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, the point I was going to make was I was having an interview with Dr. Bill Deagle on the GCN network. I think he's like second cousin to Alex Jones or whatever. We talked about that off air, but he said that comedians... sorry, let me start again because I totally screwed that up. He said the two most intelligent people in terms of career choice are theoretical physicists and comedians. All right. And
go on.
I theorize that the reason why that is because it takes the same kind of material in order to do things. It's about translating complex equations which other people might not even know are there or even exist whatsoever, and compressing them into a formula that not only can people understand, but it works and is validated in and of itself.
I like that. That's cool. Makes sense too.
Yeah. At least that's my working theory on it, you know. I could just be going around saying, I'm smarter than you, but...
when you watch like George Carlin stand up or Bill Hicks stand up, I mean, when they finish one of their bits, I just think, man, this man was a genius. All these people sitting here laughing, you know, at the things that he's saying, but he's just downloading this information into them. It's amazing.
It is, and I consider myself sort of like a haphazard accident in talk radio. I'm kind of like what happens when you listen to too much Bill Hicks and too much Alex Jones at the same time.
Oh, there's a conspiracy theory that Bill Hicks is Alex Jones.
If you say so.
So,
yeah.
If that were true.
Tell that to Kevin Booth, the maker of American Drug War, who was one of his best friends, who's also been on the Alex Jones show, if he's his old long-lost friend, Bill Hicks.
Oh, man, don't get me wrong. It's not a theory that I support,
Yeah.
but it does exist.
Yeah, and if it were true, which I'm not saying it is, what would that make you?
It'd make me, just like everybody else, a really messed up product of my environment that's built on lies and crap.
America.
Which technically wouldn't change a thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Because I don't know, when it comes down to it, realizing the absurdity of it and becoming one with the madness, I've determined as a survival mechanism.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those are two words that I always use regarding this. It is absurd. It's very serious, but at a certain point, it is absurd. It's ridiculous, and it's madness. So I totally agree with those two words.
And it's kind of like there's two choices. You can either choose to understand it or something like that. And I was wondering if when you try to understand madness, is the only way that you can actually fully comprehend it is to become insane yourself?
That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like I can observe madness and reactions to things. I feel like for like the Israel-Palestine situation, the reaction that the majority of the people in the West have to me is it's madness. This situation is madness. The fact that I actually have to explain to somebody that Israel is doing the wrong thing is madness.
Oh my goodness.
And then I guess then I also end up feeling madness about it, but.
Well, I just put a Facebook status up this morning on that. Israel shows pictures of bombed-out buildings in Gaza, claims that it's footage of Israel, blame Hamas, who Mossad set up to replace the PLO rocket attacks, and then bomb Gaza in retaliation.
Mm-hmm. Here, you know, this is something I was telling Kevin about the other day, because we put together this Emmy video last week that's on our channel right now. Check it out. But in doing so, we decided to focus in on the rocket fire as the thing to kind of like as the joke we're going to make about the situation. And I spent about an hour trying to find any footage of a Hamas rocket. There's none. There's zero. You see there's a couple, and I mean literally a couple videos of like fires, small fires, apparently in Israel, that are supposed to be the aftermath of a Hamas rocket, but there is absolutely no footage of a Hamas rocket. That is telling. Meanwhile, you have countless videos and so much footage of the destruction and chaos that is going on in Palestine from Israel.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. On the flip side, when I was editing together the montage toward the end of the video of all the bombs hitting Gaza, that was not hard to find at all. And it was difficult, frankly, to be downloading all these clips, watching bombs go off in Gaza, knowing exactly what's happening, and trying to put it together into a video that we can hopefully help and wake a few people up to. But yeah, it was limitless almost with the amount of footage that was out there on it.
Well, this is an interesting topic for us to get into, considering our field, because the Israel-Palestine thing, there is no comedy there. Okay, there aren't Palestinians running around there doing stand-up and making all the Israelis laugh. No, they've got white phosphorus raining down on them, bro. It's not going to happen, right? I try to make Israeli jokes. I try, What do Israelis say, what do Israeli tanks say to Palestinian children? Shalom!
Oh.
Why are Israelis suspicious of chickpeas?
Why?
Because they could become Hamas.
That's good. I got one. Hold on. I had one written down the other day. So talk amongst yourselves. I'll find it.
Oh, man.
No, but do you see the point that I'm getting at here? It's actually quite rare to see a funny Israeli-Palestine joke because...
That's what we had to do it. That's what we had to make that video.
And we knew that there would be people out there that would try to tell us that that this is not something to be joked about. They've done it in other videos, and we're not the only ones that people make comments like that toward, but it just got to the point to where it was like, if you're not doing something, if you're not saying something and speaking out about this, like Benny said, the frustration with the Western world and the people we know having to explain it to people. Beyond that, it's the fact that people it's like they know about it, but they don't want to pay attention. They're being complicit in not paying attention to it. So we had to be really creative and clever when we were making a comedy video that was going to sort of pinpoint that subject, because we didn't want to offend anyone. We felt we've been carrying the sadness of this for a long time. We were both sort of depressed about this thing. I couldn't go, you couldn't go minutes or hours without thinking about it and whatever situation you were in. And still to this day, frankly. And we just decided we had to do it. Like I had a conversation with a friend and we were going back and forth. It was like a debate when I was camping a couple weeks ago. And they said like, well, what good is it going to do me or anyone sitting over here talking about it when I can't make any change about what's going on over there? And I said, if you were over there, if you were one of these kids that are literally trapped and stuck in there, wouldn't you wish that somebody else in the world, especially the Western world, was doing that very thing and talking about it? So we just decided, we had a moment of fear before releasing it. We were a little afraid about how people might handle it, but we just said, screw it. We had to do it. Henrik from Red Ice, a friend of ours, Red Ice Creations, he wrote us an email and he said this great line, which I'm going to always recall, where he said, be brave and fear no topic. And I guess that's sort of where we're at.
And we didn't say anything about Zionism or Jews or anything anti-Semitic, whatever the people try to throw at anybody who criticizes Israel.
I don't like that term anti-Semitic because I think it's
worst of the worst.
I mean, what a genius setup they've come up for themselves.
Well, personally, if I was one of the 12 tribes of Israel, I'd be really pissed off that the Semites get all the credit for all the people that hate us.
True.
Exactly.
And it's a knee-jerk reaction, frankly. Obviously, it's years of conditioning, and I don't know, maybe that upsets people hearing that, but stop, pull back, take a look around. And when we've been called that, we've been called anti-Semitic and saying that our videos are anti-Semitic, and this knee-jerk reaction.
But like I said, I mean, we didn't say anything about Zionism or Jews. We just showed the difference in the rocket fire, right? So because people always play the middle ground in this situation, so we're showing, okay, this is what they're saying Hamas is doing, and this is what Israel's response is. That's all we're showing. We're showing it as a rocket show of a missile launching, and then showing subtly, well, not so subtly, showing Hollywood's reaction of applauding Israel and not standing up for Palestine, just keeping their mouths shut because they don't want to lose their jobs.
Which is also something that is true and exists. Look at Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz and how they wanted to blacklist them from Hollywood for speaking out against it. It's just absolutely insane. And that, we have a Jewish guy in our group, a friend of ours, who's in that video.
Actually, we have a Jewish guy and a Palestinian.
Both in our group. And, we're not even allowed to say that. We're not even allowed to say, well, we can't possibly be anti-Semitic because there's a Jewish friend of ours in our group. They say, well, that
he must be a self-hating Jew.
Yeah, you can't pull that card. That card, that's not proof. That doesn't work. According to who?
Well, basically, I don't want to accept it, therefore it's not true. We're coming to break right now, guys. We'll be back in just a minute, ladies and gentlemen, with Benny and Kevin from Joy Camp, and check them out on YouTube, if you will. Bear in mind, this is a listener-supported broadcast, so go to thevinnieeastwoodshow.com and sign up today to start giving a regular donation. If you're a New Zealander, there's a Kiwi Bank account there that you can start up an AP into, or if you are overseas, you can give us some of your slave money via PayPal. We'll be right back.
So, did you get your smoothie or what?
Nah, you gimped out on me.
Damn it.
You know, when it comes to the crunch. Anyway. What have you guys been up to? Because I introduced my wife to your YouTube channel the other week. She was really, really sick. And I saw these research articles about the benefits of comedy. One of which stipulated that they had these two test groups of women. One in one room watching boring travel shows, and one other group of women in another room watching really, really funny stuff, right? And the shoulders of my prime sinister. But
I say go for it, man. Just say yes.
Yeah, just be you.
Just say yes to getting arrested.
Exactly. Words of wisdom from Joy Camp.
In fact, I was interviewing a hemp producer the other day, and he was talking about how having these really good hemp smoothies can actually relieve the symptoms of PTSD. And I told him how I got mine was getting busted by the cops. And he's like, no, this can solve that, And I go, well, no problem, bro. I'll tell you what, you make me a smoothie, and I'll go get myself arrested by the cops, and I'll see if I handle it better, you know? Yeah.
Thanks, sure.
Or is it Vincent?
No. It go by Vinnie Eastwood. You know, Vinnie with a Y. It's the most important question. Eastwood doesn't go ahead. Make my news.
Like Clint Eastwood, or
yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, I'm like 15th cousins or some crap. So my mother tells me, but she never showed me the genealogy thing. So the most famous celebrity that I'm related to is Lucy Lawless' first cousin.
First cousin. Wow,
that's pretty good.
Xena Warrior Princess.
Yeah. It's where I get my crazy megaphone antics from.
Oh, of course. That makes
it's all coming together now.
Yeah. In fact, it would be really good to jump through the air onto the shot in the end. Nature works very, very well, especially at wiping out parasites that kind of live on its back. My very special guests are the creators of Joy Camp. We've got here. Guys, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Vinny. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Glad to be back.
Oh, my God. I got such a terrible thing here. I only remember Benny. I can't remember your name, bro.
Didn't you say it? I thought you just said it.
You guys from Joy Camp.
Oh, yeah, it's Kevin.
Kevin and Benny. All right. That's better. That makes me feel a lot less uncomfortable.
You're Vinny, right?
Yeah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinnie Eastwood Show, broadcasting from New Zealand, the fabulous, the fluoridated, the allegedly irradiated, but of course we don't know because we stopped testing the seawater. You know, we figured what's the worst that could happen? A whole bunch of contaminated products and contaminated seafood would flood our shelves and give everybody cacophonous cancer rates. Nah, that's fine, bro. You know, we'll just drink more homogenized, pasteurized New Zealand brand milk in a black plastic bottle or something like that. You know, it'll all work itself